lobby with the lobbying pro, Corky Kyle. In the Lobby gives you a backstage pass to the heated industry of lobbying and politics. The true leader and mentor, Corky Kyle. Corky Kyle.
All right, Denver, we're here. It's Tuesday, the day before the session ends. We're at the 119th day of the Colorado legislature, and it's really, really good. So let's get these people in here and call this show to order. All right, there we go. Hey, it's official. We're started. I want to apologize to our listeners yesterday. I know we did a rerun yesterday because I was stuck in committee working on one of the bills that we're going to talk about today, and that has to do with the registration of naturopathic doctors. And there is a story attached to that, to say the least. And we have a member of the Colorado Association of Naturopathic Doctors here today, Mark Cooper, and we're going to talk about what happened in this session. And then I have my very good friend and colleague, Mr. Tony Gagliardi from the NFIB. He's the director for Colorado and Wyoming, and he's going to depress us and tell us how bad business got it in the old keister this session, regardless of the fact that, if you recall, when we started out this session, it was all about jobs.
Jobs, jobs, jobs.
Jobs, jobs, jobs. And we're not talking about the guy that invented the iPad. And so anyway, it was sort of a reverse deal. But first, we got to recognize our sponsors. We want to recognize the City Grill. They are, can you hear that? That's the sizzling of the steak burger. You really have to go down there and see it. See Nancy and Helen. There's a picture of the City Grill there on the screen there. Also, we want to thank Colorado Statesman for their help, and they've been a sponsor. They've been a long-term sponsor, and they're just great. And you want to get a tally once this session ends after tomorrow midnight, and that's the place to go because they will have a wrap-up in there that'll be extensive. And then last but not least, this is where we're all going to go to recover from this legislative session, and that is Beaver Run Resort up in Breckenridge. We're all going to go up there and get a suite, and then we'll go sit in the hot tub for a while, and then we'll sort of wander around and take it easy. But anyway, that's what that place is all about. R&R, and just a great place to go visit. Wonderful place. So Beaver Run Resort up in Breckenridge, Colorado. So those are our sponsors, and we want to thank them very, very much for supporting the program. All right. 720-428-8658. That's the call-in number. And I'm still working on this contest that I've had for the last week and a half. And that is the third person that calls in once we start our show and asks a good question. There is a qualifier there. A good question. I'll buy you lunch for you and a guest at the City Grill so you can check out the steak burger. So we'll see. Maybe today we'll have a winner. We just don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyway, 720-428-8658. As I mentioned earlier, this is the 119th day. So they have one more day to conduct their business. They can go all the way until midnight tomorrow, and then they have to do a sine die. So the clock is ticking. The countdown has begun. And you're going to see some stuff that isn't going to make it because of the timeline, which is probably a good thing. Some of it is. Some of it is not. It should have been passed. But as we all know, there's strategy and everything that's associated with this. So we'll see what happens. The 119th day. I love it. I love it.
1 day, 7 hours, and 56 minutes as we speak.
Is that what it is?
That's what it is.
All right. The countdown
has begun.
Okay. All right. Before we get started here with our discussion, it's interesting. You know, the way I do this show is that every day I take a look at the newspaper just to see what the issues are. And I'm always looking for cool issues. But I cannot, but I got to tell you, in today's paper, there was more stuff about not medical marijuana, just marijuana in general. And it's front page stuff. And so, I mean, they're worried about, they finally passed a bill to say that you were too high to be driving a car. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think that was House Bill 1325. They passed a tax bill which gave 25% tax on the stuff.
But they got to go to the ballot still.
That's got to go to the ballot. And then they had a resolution that had two parts to it. Oh my gosh, we've got somebody already calling in. We haven't even started the show yet.
You mentioned marijuana.
I want to say it. All right, caller. Hello there.
Yes. Hello. Yes, I was just wondering about the legislation. What do you feel is the most important single piece of legislation that was passed to affect business in Colorado?
In a good way or a bad way?
The most dramatic way.
Well, I'm going to turn that over to my good friend, Mr. Gagliardi, because you can make that decision since you're representing small business.
I think I know that voice.
Just play along. Go with it. Work with it.
Okay. Before I start, I want a moment of personal privilege.
All right, go ahead.
I want to say hi to my father, who hopefully is watching. He is over at Atria Senior Living over by Belmar on Pierce, and everybody at Atria. Hopefully one of these days I look forward to moving in there myself. It is a phenomenal place. They take good care of them. And hi, Dad. So
that's wonderful. Hi, Dad.
So anyway, I've got to say probably the most dramatic piece, and not in a good way, unfortunately, not in a good way, is House Bill 1136. We've coined it the Sue Your Boss bill. It was supposed to be a civil rights and employment bill, but this is the work of Senator Morgan Carroll, Representative Clara Levy, and Representative Joe Salazar. And guess what they do for a living?
They're not trial attorneys.
They are.
No way.
Sure. We got one civil rights attorney. We got two employment attorneys. And but we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to go there. 1136, really what it does is it puts a target on the back of every small business owner in Colorado. Main Street business, rural business, you name it. If you have one employee or if you have 500 employees. Now, there's already been a federal act passed years ago that covered employers with 15 or more employees. That's always been the case. Under 15 was exempted for the specific reason Congress understood that small businesses are different. Small businesses don't have the resources of in-house counsel and
now tell
HR.
the people what it does and why they need to counsel, because this has to do with discrimination.
It does.
Go deeper and share with them what it does.
If a worker or even an applicant or a applicant for promotion feels that they've been discriminated against on grounds of sexual orientation or gender or religion and those types of things. Age is now at 70 and above. And again, this has always been against the law under the federal statutes. Now what they've done is this bill brings everything and allows the plaintiff, whether it's a plaintiff for a large employer or a small employer, to file in state court and not only be entitled to front wages and back wages and lost time, but punitive and compensatory damages.
Punitive and compensatory
Oh yeah,
too?
And the bill actually spelled out the right to sue for loss of enjoyment. Now, the sponsors are saying this bill really protects small employers because we lowered the caps. So now if you have one employee to 4, then the maximum damage is $10,000. If you have,
that's it.
That's it. if you have 5 to 14, it's 25,000 and 50,000 after that. The bill started out at 50,000 for everything. What it doesn't address, and this is why I told the governor, and you've heard me on the air before and on TV, caps mean nothing because you as the employer have to go out and retain legal counsel. So even if somebody files against you and you have 5 employees, and these things will take usually 2 to 3 years to settle at what's called the summary stage. You're not going to get all the way to trial. You're going to reach a point when you're just going to settle. So the plaintiff settles for a cap of $10,000. However, you, the employer, have already spent $40,000 to $50,000 in legal fees. The bill does not allow for you to recover those legal fees. Now, judges have always had that discretion to award plaintiff costs or prevailing party costs, but in less than 1% of all the cases that have ever been filed has legal costs ever been awarded to the employer. Now, the Colorado Civil Rights Division, they came in, their latest annual report says they had 339 cases of discrimination filed. 313 were dismissed for lack of merit. And yet, Joe Salazar, Clara Levy, and Morgan Carroll have the nerve to sit in committee and say frivolous lawsuits are a myth. They do not happen. Well, why don't you tell that?
Yeah, what the hell does the statistic just say?
339 cases filed, 313 dismissed for lack
so
of
that
merit.
left us what? 20, 25, whatever
That's the reason they want to be able to file in state court, because state court is going to be much more favorable. Federal court, they're used to these cases. They're used to these cases, and they know 9 out of 10 of them are frivolous.
Good.
They lack merit. But you get them into state court, now you got a jury. Now you have a
So
jury.
this is like a miniature
Yeah.
federal civil rights
This is
law.
This is a miniature. Yeah, this goes back to Jim Crow. Yeah, just about. The way this is being handled, and that's why
sounds to
we call
me-
it the Sue Your Boss bill. The governor. We asked the governor in a press conference on Tuesday, and we delivered a letter to his office, urging him to veto this bill because he was a small business owner. He came into office saying what? I understand small business, and the most important thing I can do is create a good atmosphere and environment for small business to thrive. And what did he do? He signed this bill. Governor Hickenlooper, you own this bill. This is your bill, and you will carry this forward. This bill is going to haunt you every day between now and 2014.
Insurance agents are going to love it too.
Absolutely. Small employers now are going to have to go out and look at Employer Practices Liabilities Act insurance with high deductibles, because now here was another one. Joe Salazar is supposed to be this civil rights attorney, insisted that, oh no, an employer doesn't have to do that because their general liability insurance will cover this. It's a crock. The man doesn't even know his own business.
Wow.
So that
There you have it, caller. It
there,
sounds to me
there
like
you
that's
have
the
it.
worst one.
That is probably the most impactful bill of this session, next to what effect Senate Bill 252 will have in the renewable energy portfolio. So
Well, you certainly made my day. I think I'll go have a drink now.
You might want to, before you leave, download this bill. Just go to the Colorado Legislature
yep.
site and download this bill and get this out to your clients, because this is going to give you an opportunity, as terrible as it sounds, and I hope you have this in your insurance bag, that you can get out there and give this information to your client, and also offer them the type of coverage that they're going to need to protect themselves from this.
We already have webinars scheduled to make employers aware of this bill and what it means. And yeah, it is. This is a right to work law. only it's a right to work law for plaintiff attorneys.
Well,
That's who
this-
supported the bill.
This is what do we call this? This is a full employment act
Full Employment Act.
for
you bet.
trial attorneys.
This legislature came in January talking about jobs. They did. They created jobs for trial attorneys.
And what's the number again on this, Tony?
House Bill 1136. Go to ledge.co.us and you can pull up the bill.
There you go. Thanks, caller.
Thank you.
That's just frickin' scary there, amigo.
Well, and that was the tone of the session. This entire session. This session, in all actuality, was just as bad as the last session we all went through when Governor Ritter was governor, and we had the dirty dozen tax increases.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this session was just as bad.
The whole state is going to hell in a handbasket.
I was born and raised here. I'm a Colorado native, third generation, and I'm 60. I'll be 62 years old in July, and I didn't think I'd ever see this state move as far left as it has. And again, Governor Hickenlooper came in, and you had a lot of Main Street business owners saying, "Listen, this guy is a small business guy. He's going to understand, and he's going to understand us." And he abandoned his roots as a small business owner, and gave us instead of statesmanship and common sense, he just gave us politics as usual.
Well, somebody sure did get to him. I've never seen you this hot before. On the radio.
I've got, I represent 7,500 members in this state and another 2,000 in Wyoming. And the worst thing I hated to see come out of this session was the lack of respect for those who actually generate the infrastructure in this state, and that's business. Business are the generators, government are the spenders.
Yeah, oh, no doubt about it. So, what's the NFIB plan?
The plan is to make sure, as I said, the governor owns this bill. This is his bill. And to remind him of it every day between now and the next election.
So you can put an ad in the paper that says, thank you,
we will,
Governor Hickenlooper?
A lot of that's already underway.
Good for you. They got to get called on it. This is stupid.
I was told one time I'm going to grow into just an old curmudgeon, and I decided to start now.
Start now.
After this session.
With that particular piece of legislation, that's just flat scary.
Yeah. And it was went through the entire process, party line votes. The only one who voted against it to our benefit was Senator Sherry John, Democrat from Wheat Ridge, stood up and argued the bill.
And she is a small business person, folks. She has a commercial cleaning operation. And she hires people and pays taxes and makes payroll and does all those things small business does, puts people to work.
She actually signs the front side of a paycheck.
That's right. All right. We're going to take a short break after that. And don't forget, 720-428-8658. That's one caller down. All we need is two more. Third caller gets the burger. So we're going to take a short break, and we will be right back. More about that.
He is the guy you hire to protect you from the people you elect. In the Lobby with Corky Kyle.
All right, we're back. We're back after the exciting first segment of our show. How's it feel, Denver, to be a small businessman? Did you just want to bend over and grab the Vaseline? Or maybe they're not going to use Vaseline this time. I don't think they are.
They're going to take you to dinner.
They're not even going to take you to dinner. That's right. And on top of that, they won't even kiss you.
I know.
What the heck is going on with this? All right, caller. Thanks for calling.
Hello, is this Corky Kyle? Hey,
Yes, it is.
I heard today that there's a big bill that passed about naturopathic medicine. And I'd love to know what a naturopathic doctor does anyway. What the heck is that?
Funny, you should mention that. We were going to get into that in just a few moments, but we happen to have a doctor here who can answer that question for us. We have Dr. Mark Cooper from Colorado Springs, and he's on the board of directors of the Colorado Association of Naturopathic Doctors, and also a government relations committee member. So, Mark, share with our audience what happened today.
Well, after 20 years, Colorado now has officially registered naturopathic doctors. We have stepped into the healthcare field in Colorado in a legal format, in a legal manner. We are registered, and it's been a long time getting here. A long time.
Well, so let's back up just a little bit and give our listeners a little more information that there's always been naturopaths here in Colorado, but they have not been recognized. They have not been recognized by the state. They haven't been regulated by the state. There's been no standards that consumers can use to measure.
Correct.
And those types of things. And the association 20 years ago saw that there is a need to take advantage of that.
And a whole lot of people over that 20-year period have been working at this, picking away until we've today accomplished a milestone. Obviously, the governor will sign it. It will become enacted into law as an official issue for registration of naturopathic doctors. The naturopathic profession has been in here, Colorado, for years. Right now, I think there's close to 150 medically trained naturopathic doctors in Colorado. A whole lot of natural health care providers have been here as well. But for that category of naturopathic doctor who did accomplish formal medical training in a medical school recognized by the U.S. Department of Education, that's what this group is all about. And to say the least, I'm just tickled.
Is that all? You're just tickled?
I can't stand on the table and yell, but
well, you can. We can get that on the TV here. Yeah,
a lot of activity, a lot of effort, a lot of sweat. There's a slew of folks who are behind all this.
Well, let's talk about that because there's a huge number of people, the association, the professionals that you worked with, and all of that. They all brought this together, and here we are at the nexus when we've got this regulatory. But talk about that. Talk about that process.
I think it started with the doctor-patient relationship. It starts with a patient seeing the value in what we were offering as a service in Colorado, the benefit, the cost savings. That led to a growth. Somebody said to somebody, go see Dr. So-and-so. They helped me with my aches and pains. That process led to a growth process in Colorado of medically trained naturopathic doctors. And then that in turn led to a desire to be regulated, which some senators and representatives ask, what in the dickens do you want to be registered for? Why do you want to be regulated? Well, in order to play in the arena of healthcare in Colorado, you have to be regulated. I could not get malpractice insurance in Colorado unless I'm regulated. The access to what you take for granted when you go to a doctor for those services is not available to an unregulated healthcare provider. So regulation at this level of the game is required. And then there's the families, there's not just the patients, but there's the whole network of people involved that say, I want to be able to pick who I go to see for my healthcare services. I don't want to make it a melodrama. I don't want to have a stage that I've got to go and scream at. I just want to go when I'm sick to see somebody. And that was accomplished today. Now, Colorado citizens have the right to seek naturopaths as naturopathic doctors, medically trained for their health care. It's a huge milestone. It's huge.
20 years worth and coming.
20 years worth. I personally have been involved for 14 years. There's others that have been involved longer, the full 20. There's some that have been involved shorter. But it really doesn't matter. It's the energy, it's the desire to have this thing be accomplished, and it was accomplished today. And I I can't list everybody, but those that are listening and know what they've done, every single person who was involved in this should be giving a big high five.
Right on, high five. You know, you've been working at this for 7,300 days. It only took 7,300 days.
I don't know if that makes me feel good or not.
Well, it helps put it into perspective. Well, it sounds better than 20 years.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it only took you 7,300 days. Nice.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
With the registration now, once this is signed and implemented, now will this allow for third-party reimbursement for those registered, or how does that work?
The current language in the bill says no.
Okay.
And I think there's going to be a trial period in which we prove
No,
that
that's not true, because they tried to limit it. But you can go and do that. Yes. It's okay to say it. Because you know you're trained professionals. There's 6 schools in the country.
Mm-hmm.
well, see,
It's a doctorate of
Sure.
naturopathic medicine.
Well, and as the consumer, I would much rather be able to, if this was the treatment plan I wanted to follow, why should I have to go through another doctor simply to make sure my naturopath
We'll
gets
talk
paid?
about that a little bit, Mark, because there's a real collaboration between MDs and naturopaths.
As there should be, I think.
there is, and it will only grow. And I think that'll be the big plus that shows the Colorado Medical Society that we are an advantage to this healthcare service in Colorado. Currently, right now, there are some naturopaths who are receiving reimbursement, either through cafeteria plans or through other third-party payment structures. We didn't want to raise that red flag and act like we're stepping into this to secure additional funding and we're greedy and we just want to make sure we get all the insurance we can get. That's not what this is about. However, having said that, yes, I think that's reasonable for a consumer, the patient,
Sure.
seeking services to be able to use their resources as they decide for the purchase of those services.
Well, one of the things that's coming up, and we are all reading about this, is the fact that, like with Walmart, are you still there, caller? Oh, we lost the caller. Okay,
Oh,
that's
I thought maybe we had another
well. That's
one.
all right. We'll go over that. All right, this is it. Will there be number 3?
Number 3.
Number 3. Anyway, let's get back to that because that's important for our listeners to understand. And I'm not sure where were we?
Talking about consumers and what they can buy and what they have to.
Oh,
Yeah.
Walmart went out and said, "Look,
We're
we'll
gonna
pay
do
for
our-
everything.
Right.
You go to a surgery center and have it done,
Mhm.
and we'll pay for it." That's $5,000 versus $80,000 by going to a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can see those kinds of business relationships. They happen with MDs already. That some MDs do a custom practice where they say, "Pay me $1,500 and you can
That's
come
right.
in anytime
That's right.
during the year and take care of everything and all that type of stuff."
Mhm.
But I can see the doctors also working with a Walmart,
Mhm.
naturopaths working with other businesses like that. Say, here's some other opportunities. But the real thing, plus I think that's going to be come out of this, is for the rural areas.
Oh,
a lot
absolutely.
of naturopaths
Right.
don't want to be in Denver.
That's a clear positive aspect of this. And I know the growth and the collaboration of what I know will happen. That being, I don't do everything as a doctor. And I've got a patient in front of me and they need a particular service. I'm going to say, hey, I want you to go see so-and-so. And that collaboration is only a benefit for the citizens of Colorado. Now, I'm out in the middle of a small town of less than 10,000 people. I want that collaboration. And those individuals in that community need a doctor. Because there's a lot of things that can be taken care of by a naturopathic doctor that doesn't require an ER visit.
Mm-hmm.
The services, the benefit that we provide are a savings to a community. I'm tooting my horn here, I guess.
Well,
but
that's
it's true.
good.
But
No,
we-
and you should. You should, because what I see is the establishment of a free market model within the healthcare, and this is what NFIB has promoted for over 20 years.
And I have a question on that. What you discussed on that bill, does that include volunteers on
Yes.
not paid employees, but
Don't have to be a paid employee if you're classified as working. So a volunteer at a food bank, a volunteer in a rural health clinic.
That gets that for the nonprofits.
That's
that
right,
Randy
and
Fagan
that,
you were saying.
and that hits the nonprofits. Sure.
oh my gosh.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's not take the icing off the cake just yet.
No.
But gee, when you stop and think about what's just happened with this passage of this registration.
It's House Bill 1111, by the way.
House Bill 1111, yes. And, it opens up so many more doors. And I don't even know how this would apply with Obamacare and what this means. With you being,
We'll let you read it after we do it.
well, I'm wondering if in there, if they do recognize naturopathic medicine.
It would be, I think it would behoove your profession to seriously consider that, because there is so much still being uncovered in Obamacare that we don't know of, that is still being, there's still blank pages that simply say that the
Absolutely.
Secretary of Health and Human Services shall, and you've got a blank page because they haven't written anything yet.
And I don't want to speak to the specifics because I don't know all of them at the national level, but I know there is an effort, ongoing effort to include our services both for Indian reservations as well as the rural communities. So there's an aspect of that that's already been initiated.
Mm-hmm.
It will only grow and proliferate over time.
Well, one of the things we're going to have to start working on here is particularly in the Colorado game plan, is to make sure that you're recognized as a real provider of health care so that you can participate in this program.
I understand what you're saying, and I can't believe that it won't happen. Other states have already reached that point. Now, having said that, with a 20-year history behind us, I'm going to be cautious and not jinx anything by saying I think we're going to prove ourselves very, very well. I think that the communities, the other doctors will all be impressed by what we're going to offer.
Absolutely, but we're going even more basic, and this is the real political undertones in what's going on here, because as Tony and I well know, that unless it says doctors of naturopathic medicine, you're excluded.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to be like we were talking about. Well, let's enjoy the day, because
Absolutely.
we have a huge amount of work to do over the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to it.
I know it. What else can you tell we got 3 minutes before our next break. Anything else you want to add to that? I love that caller. I don't know where she went, but
all I can say is I'm extremely excited. I do want to just say one quick little point here. I want to thank my wife, Kathy, for decade plus of patience and behind-the-scenes work and support. And I don't want to exclude other spouses, partners. This has been a huge effort by a whole lot of very, very good doctors trying to improve Colorado's healthcare, and a whole lot of family members, patients. It is a huge issue, and I want to give accolades to them all.
everybody deserves it. All right, we're going to take another break. You're in the lobby with the Lobbying Pro. I'm your host, Corky Kyle. We have Tony Gagliardi, the NFIB director for Colorado and Wyoming. We have Dr. Mark Cooper with the Colorado Association of Naturopathic Doctors, a board member and government relations chairman. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back for some other exciting topics.
Fact that government can take control.
Advertising advantage.
To your advertising.
All right, 720-428-8658. That's the magic number. Be the next caller, and you get lunch on me at the City Grill on Colfax Avenue.
Yeah. Your producer is going to
I
call.
know, I know. No, I already owe him lunch. It's just a question of us getting together and getting there to do it. So that's anyway. So, where do I want to go now? I mean, these are two. I mean, the program has been full of information and really good things for our listeners to go to. Let's talk again a little bit about this energy bill. Not again. Let's talk a little bit about this energy bill because this, and I don't know a lot, but I know it stinks.
It stinks to high heaven.
Okay.
Little background. Back in 2007, Governor Ritter was here then, and that administration was solely devoted to renewable energy, whether it was solar, wind, bicycle generation, whatever.
40 people in a room breathing heavy.
Breathing heavy. So they passed what was known as the Renewable Energy Standard. It said by 2020, 10% of the power generated by an REA must come from renewable sources. And that was fine. And Tri-State Generation was making progress towards those goals and the other REAs out there. Now, lo and behold, leadership, Senator Morris, Representative Ferrandino, Gail Schwartz from Aspen, and Representative Crisanta Duran, they decide to kick that up to 30% by 2020. So for REA, for a generation company like Tri-State Generation, who, Penny and I live in Firestone. We get our power from United Power. United Power buys, I think I'm moving too far away here. United buys their power from Tri-State. Okay, so Tri-State now is required, instead of 10% in their renewable energy portfolio standard, to go to 30% by 2020. Tri-State's estimation of the cost in the next 5 years is approximately, the figures are running, there's some variables in there. The figure is between $5 and $6 billion. Now,
so what does that mean to the consumer?
Well, I'm glad you asked. What that means is those costs get passed along. So naturally, United Power's cost is going to increase. And I don't know down where you are, if you're on an REA or XL.
Black Hills REA.
Okay, so you're on Black Hills, so their power is going to increase. And then the consumer is going to end up paying for it. Next to salaries and surveys that NFIB does, and NFIB does a ton of surveys. That's how we.
Well, that's how you set your policy.
That's how we set our policy.
Right.
Next to salaries, utility costs are becoming the second highest expense to businesses today.
No way.
Yes.
That's never happened.
Never. But we have seen a steady climb. And next to utility is transportation. So
when's this 30% to be implemented?
By 2020. They have to be at 30% by 2020. But to get the infrastructure in place,
that's 7 years, dude.
They have to build, and we're talking 5 to 7.
It can't be more coal-fired plants.
Oh no!
It's got to be the windmills. It's got to be
it's got to be the solar. Which we're still importing solar panels from China, because thanks to Abound Solar up in Longmont, who gets $400 million through Obama, thanks to Pat Stryker and her connections, goes bankrupt and leaves Weld County, where I happen to live, with about a $10 million cleanup fee, because they left basically a Superfund site. It is so contaminated, the local fire department can't even go in and do inspections because of the cadmium that's used in the processing. It is just laden. And so the cleanup bill is estimated anywhere between $8 and $10 million that Weld County residents will get to pay for.
Well, but you can go to Superfund then, can't you? Get that?
Yeah, once it's declared and that. So, but anyway.
Okay, so We know the cast of characters.
Yeah.
And obviously, did this bill pass?
This bill did pass. It's on its way to the governor, and here's another bill that the governor will own, because this is going to destroy rural Colorado. You talked about, I hear, because of NFIB's lead in the healthcare debate and reform, we hear all the time about, rural Colorado. We don't have providers in rural Colorado. You have to travel 100 miles, 150 miles to a provider. The problem is the employment, if there's any. Let's take Spear Manufacturing out in Holyoke or Falcon Industries down in La Junta. They employ people in the local community. When those energy costs get too high, the only way to control those costs is you adjust your workforce. You either don't hire or you lay off existing workforce. Now, if you talk to Raleigh Heath or Mark Ferrandino or John Morris, they'll say, oh, no. All they do is just pass that cost along to the consumer, which is just hogwash. I mean, we all know that, but they evidently don't. Maybe they went to public school. I don't know. But anyway, Senate Bill 252 is going to have a dramatic effect on rural Colorado.
Holy jumping catfish. So I would assume that the NFIB is going to ask the governor to veto it.
We have. In fact, every major business group, let me read you some of them,
Tell us.
have asked for a veto. Colorado Association of Commerce and Industry, National Federation of Independent Business, Colorado Concern, Colorado Mining Company, IBEW, Local 111,
Unions, people.
IBEW,
Union.
Local 969, Rocky Mountain Agribusiness Association, Colorado Corn Growers, Colorado Telecommunications, Colorado Farm Bureau, Cattlemen's, Associated Governments, Northwest Colorado, Action 22, Club 20, Progressive 15, Metro North Chamber of Commerce, Pueblo Home Builders, and there's about 19 others that have been added to this list in opposition. Again, it's the legislature is so far out of touch. The problem with our legislature is they talk to each other. They don't get out into their communities and talk to those who elected them.
Oh, the average consumer wouldn't even know about that stuff.
This stuff, the average consumer isn't even going to know, but your legislative leadership gets down here and they know it all. And so then we get stuff like 252.
So what's the favor? Who are they giving the favor to pass this?
Oh, it goes
Is it the
along with the
administration?
state. It goes along with the move in this state, starting with Governor Ritter, that we're going to ban fossil fuel. This is the bottom line. They want to ban all fossil
And
fuel.
from what I was reading yesterday in the LA Times, there's more fossil fuel
California.
now that we have discovered.
That's right.
We have almost more fossil fuel in America now than Saudi Arabia.
That's right.
That they found because of all the technology. And now that's why all these other things have fallen to the wayside.
That's right.
And so this is well,
Creates an artificial market.
Exactly.
Just like government is good
it's
for
goddamn
doing.
union bill.
I'll tell you what, my dream, and I live in Weld County, like I said, 52% of our budget comes from severance taxes.
Taxes from oil and gas.
My
right.
dream, someday, to have enough property in Weld County where when I get up in the morning and I go into the kitchen with my coffee and I look out my kitchen window, I've got 6 pump jacks just pumping away. Because when those pump jacks are pumping, people have jobs.
And you're getting a royalty check.
And that's right.
Mark, real quick, we're at the close of our meeting. What else would you like to tell our listeners about this wonderful day today?
This is a monumental day. It's not only affecting Colorado. I'm clear in saying that it's going to affect other states and the nation as a whole to see this progression of naturopathic doctor accessibility. It is a huge issue. Patients benefit in a manner that I can't explain. It's when the door opens up and people go, I didn't even know this service was available. My gosh. And they find what it does. This is a win-win. This is a huge day. May 7th is a huge...
It's going down. It's going down in history books, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Going down in history books. That's really cool. Folks, that's our show today. I want to thank Our guests, Tony Gagliardi and Mark Cooper. What a terrific show you guys made today. It was great. Still didn't give away the prize. Maybe tomorrow.
No.
Maybe tomorrow. We'll see. All right, you're in the lobby with the Lobbying Pro. I'm your host, Corky Kyle. Make a point of tuning in tomorrow, 5 o'clock, Mountain Standard Time. Oh, and by the way, am I safe to say this, TJ, that next week we're moving the time?
I am perfectly comfortable with saying that.
Well, okay. Where we have a new time for the show, and that'll be instead of 5 to 6, it will be from 4 to 5. So it gives us a little change now that the legislature's over, and we will be having more legislators in to talk about this unique and exciting session. That's our show today. Thanks for listening in. This show is adjourned.
In the Lobby with Corky Kyle.